mile. Okay, what's a science fiction convention without the end of the world? Well, the trick is, aside from the 7 billion people that are dying right next to you, the end of the world is really a very personal and very lonely place. And this is a description of the end of days. It starts with the end of the world. My life and mind are a post-apocalyptic shambles. The germ weapon surprise we called the crazies has killed most of my kin at unexpected moments. My friends and many of my Smithy's customers with equal randomness. It continues going about its work 10 years after setting out. Being spared so far by the crazies, and therefore being sane by comparison to people who died violently insane, I do my best to cope, to have a reasonable routine and a rational reason to go on living. Each morning I dress the way a cowboy would dress if he were a peer of Roy Rogers or Gene Autry in the Saturday westerns of my childhood. I wear newish-looking cowboy boots, of course, and spurs that never fail to jingle, jangle, and jingle once more. My jeans are neither baggy nor tight, so the women of my younger days could admire me and still decide without undue pressure if they lust after me as well. Were they still alive? The checked shirt is long-sleeved and is buttoned all the way to the neck and at the cuffs. The heroes of childhood would never be seen with their cuffs rolled up. A neatly folded bandana is wrapped around my neck, and a light-colored cowboy hat is tipped slightly forward to keep the sun out of my eyes. These are clean clothes and would be even if I had just traded blows mano a mano with Black Bart on a dusty trail. Some days I'll walk the road down out of the hills to the ramshackle community that once was an old suburb and someday might become a village again. I barter for what I need, using the coin of work done or to come at my forge and stable for things I can use. Then I spend some time in talk with Mr. Halston and the other survivors. Other days, the dogs and I hunt for fresh game. The dogs seem to like me well enough after all these years and always listen closely when I talk to them around the cabin. Still other days, like today, I lean back in a chair, prop my feet up on the porch rail, and contemplate the lack of peace that created all this quiet that lies around me. Evenings after dinner are unvarying, except for once a few years back when I took sick with a fever that managed to keep me in bed for nearly a week of fervently hoping to die like everybody else had. With the dishes done, the dogs fed, and the cats sent mousing, I sipped some whiskey watered with tears. For me, the world didn't end until my wife of over 50 years died. I don't know for sure she's dead, but it's been 7 years since she didn't come home from gathering berries. Nobody's found her. They haven't seen her either. So it's almost a fact that the crazies got her in the deep woods and she crawled off to die. I have a drink because I remember her. I cry because I have only memories. Whiskey and tears finished, I yield for a while again to the shambles in my head. Taking my wife's soul in my arms, I dance a simple two-step around the living room. No great singer, I sing nonetheless. First, Johnny Mercer's I Remember You, and then Skeeter Davis, The End of the World. It starts with the end of the world, and it ends with this old cowboy falling asleep cat-like in the afternoon sun. I dream about a yellow caddy ragtop with high tail fins, roaring as it once did along the pre-apocalypse surface of the weed-taken county two-lane in front of my porch. I dream about leaping on its almost infinitely long hood, like a cowboy of my childhood would mount a just-caught Mustang. And I dream of bright red liquid flowers suddenly spreading across that hood and up the towering slope of its windshield. That and the other piece I'm going to do for you. My memory span's not long enough to deal with applause. These two pieces are the outer panels of something called the Apocalyptic Triptych, which I can't even say on a Saturday. Two pieces of short fiction that surrounded the core story of this set. So over on the right-hand side of the panel, we have a gentleman who is at sea in dreams. This happened after the second end of the world. Stearns watched Mr. Halston bury their beloved Carmelita, mounted his horse, left the remnants of northern Illinois behind him on the weed-choked highway that held the ghosts of Cadillacs and the men who killed the world for their like. One day he reached Torrey Pines near sunset, built his fire to ward off evil, and settled into a sleep not unlike many since the first ending. He dreamed of impossible storms. The clouds floated south, though he had no reason to know directions in his dream. 20 yards to the dry side of endless scattered showers, he watched them drop rain, each no more than 100 feet above the sea, each by turn as it neared or passed him. Some worked slowly, while others finished in the blink of an eye, and a very few lowered themselves whole to the sea to be swallowed by the waves. He dreamed of where he'd traveled. It was a different place with different people, but he walked there anyway. There was a woman he loved, but he could no longer approach their relationship. Momentarily watching the there of the dream, he sensed passions reserved for other places. In the hair of the dream, he could only think of her, unable to feel her name, or speak the shape of her face, or realize the depth of her passing. He dreamed again the unlikely sea. No farther above the waves than his shipboard vantage, the clouds moved north now. The rain that rooted them to the sea held the color and texture of old trees, like the trees that forested the deck behind him. The storm clouds remained unsullied white. There was no sound except the wonder in his mind. And he turned to tell her what miracles he saw. He awoke to the smell of oceans and forests. He was alone, as in the dream, knowing even in the dark that he was awake, as surely as he had known he was dreaming. He wondered if the sun would rise, and if so, why? Thank you.
Not really fun. In any case, I'd like to invite up our next amazing poet, and he's going to